Welcome to the adventures of Mr. Derpy, as told by Ringo fucking Starr. Mr. Derpy was a brand new tank. He was revolutionary. Wherever Mr. Derpy showed up, he was there to improve. All the other tanks were older than Mr. Derpy. They were all tier 1, says Mr. Derpy. I'm tier 2, and I'm here to make things disappear. That's what Mr. Derpy enjoyed most of all. Mr. Derpy decided to take a long shot at a Sturmgeschütz up on the ridge. He gathered up all his breath. Mr. Derpy stopped. He waited. Oh, it felt good for Mr. Derpy to get that out. He loved shelling other tanks, making them disappear. But the Sturmgeschütz was too far away for Mr. Derpy's taste. He wanted to get closer. So Mr. Derpy trundled along all the way up to the cap zone where he could do the most good. Mr. Derpy's duty was never done, and he wanted to show them a thing or two. He wanted his own teammates in his tank yard to appreciate his efforts. Mr. Derpy, of course, was there to make everything better. Not like these old tanks that couldn't. Mr. Derpy had the attitude that he could. And up the hill he trundled, slowly but surely, as his nose grew redder and his eyes grew wider. Mr. Derpy waited for his moment. And up, and up, and up he went. The other tanks thought Mr. Derpy was a cunt, because his 152mm nose would make them disappear. They shot at Mr. Derpy, but had no effect. Mr. Derpy could stand their hits. Mr. Derpy gathered his breath, and he made the Panzer IV disappear. That was Mr. Derpy's favourite thing to do. Mr. Derpy had one problem though. It took a long time for Mr. Derpy to gather his breath again. Other tanks had short breath and smaller breath, so they took less time to get prepared. But Mr. Derpy had to inhale very long to get his breath up. Mr. Derpy. What's this? A KV-85. Mr. Derpy took his chance. Boom-sa-daisy! The KV-85 disappeared. Grrr! Grrr! Arr! Mr. Derpy grundled as he was peppered with shots that bounced off his thick frontal armor. Grrr! Arr! Arr! Mr. Derpy gathered his breath again. With a full set of lungs, Mr. Derpy took aim at a KV-1 stuck on the rocks. Grrr! Mr. Derpy fired. But the KV-1 was much like Mr. Derpy. He, too, had thick frontal armor. Mr. Derpy knew that he couldn't take that KV-1 in one shot. Blast! Grrr! Artillery shells. bounced in amongst Mr. Derpy. Mr. Derpy hated artillery shells. Mr. Derpy could be hurt by them. Mr. Derpy didn't like being hurt. Mr. Derpy fired. Mr. Derpy, with his big red nose, waited and gathered his breath again. Mr. Derpy wasn't sure if he was going to fire at that KV-1 again. That KV-1's not good, he said. In and out he lurks about, like a giant 50-ton weasel. And when he pops his long nose out, pop goes the diesel. Good night, Mr. T-34, Mr. Derpy said. Grrr! Mr. Derpy was trapped. Oh, they are right for hitting him with artillery. But Mr. Derpy was very happy. He made 3 tanks disappear. Mr. Derpy's nose was red with joy as they captured the point and were victorious for the day.